Let's be seated, please. Tim, you left your papers here. Should I throw them away?
That's the revolution left me behind.
Program directors, Minister Lindiwe Sisulu, our hostess, ministers, deputy ministers, members of parliament, your excellencies, captains of industry, the recipients of the Ubuntu Awards, honored guests, and all of you ladies and gentlemen. Let me especially, on an occasion like this, also thank Ambassador Mpoko, who is the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, for being here. It's a real joy and a pleasure to be here, to be part of these outstanding celebrations. I am truly honored to address you on this, the 4th annual Ubuntu Awards ceremony, particularly so because it is named after an icon of our nation. These awards take place as South Africa celebrates the Human Rights Month, and yesterday we celebrated Human Rights Day. We celebrated it under the theme promoting and deepening human rights across society. Many South Africans across the length and breadth of our country participated in these events, and we were all able to watch them as they participated. On this day, we remember the tenacity and the indomitable spirit of our people, but also particularly their pledge, a pledge that they made to ensure that their resolve in standing up against injustice endures. We commit ourselves never to repeat the mistakes that were committed by those who sought to destroy our humanity. This year is a particularly important one in the life of our nation as we celebrate the centenary of the births of two very outstanding South Africans, Tata Nelson Mandela and Mama Albertina Sisulu. We acknowledge their roles in the struggle for the liberation of our country and their commitment for waging that struggle in a disciplined and loyal manner to free our people. At the African Union Summit in January 2018, we launched a year-long Mandela Centenary celebration. In Madiba's honor, the AU decided to convene a dedicated meeting on the 31st ordinary session of its assembly, which will be held in Mauritania in July 2018. This is part of the continuation of various activities that will be taking place not only on our continent and our country, but across the globe as well. The UN will also be participating in a similar activity. The continent's leadership fully supports the planned UN Peace Summit taking place on the margins of the UN General Assembly in September as part of these centenary celebrations. These activities will recall and reinforce President Mandela's vision, a vision defined by peace, human dignity, and decency. In his acceptance speech, as many of us may recall, at the Nobel Peace Prize award ceremony in December of 1993, he said, "This must be a world of democracy and respect for human rights, a world freed from the horrors of poverty, hunger, deprivation, ignorance, relieved of the threat and the scourge of civil wars and external aggression, and unburdened of the great tragedy of millions forced to become refugees." President Nelson Mandela spared no energy in pursuit of a just, fair, and equitable world. We have gathered here today to honor those who have distinguished themselves in pursuit of Madiba's dream. And those who have received these awards must pride themselves in knowing that whatever award you received, it is an honor that is being bestowed on those of you who have received in remembrance and in pursuit of Nelson Mandela's dream. We are proud of all the nominees because their efforts resonate with the commitment of Ma Sisulu to improve the living conditions of the people of our country and our continent. What we aspire to achieve as a country is aligned with what the peoples of the entire continent also seek to achieve. This is borne out by the AU's Agenda 2063, which envisions a continent united in growth, development, and prosperity for all. In this context, we returned in the early hours of this morning from the AU Extraordinary Summit, which was held in Rwanda on the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. This signing of this agreement by 44 nations on our continent was a milestone event in our long journey towards an integrated continental economy. As South Africa, we are proud to have signed the Kigali Declaration on the establishment of the Continental Free Trade Area, signifying an unequivocal commitment to the achievement of this free trade area. Through the Kigali Declaration, we have undertaken to ratify all related instruments in accordance with our domestic laws and process. So that it is clear, because the media tended to say the other signed the agreement and South Africa signed a declaration. We had two documents that spoke to the establishment of the free trade area, those countries that had completed their own consultation processes were able to sign the agreement in full. A number of other countries, South Africa being one of those, were only able to sign the declaration, which was a declaration of a clear commitment to the establishment of the free trade area, pending the consultation processes that each of those countries that only signed the declaration still have to have. In our own country, we are going to commence the process and complete the process of consultation with the various role players in our country, culminating as well as with Cabinet and our Parliament. We are a continent that is making steady progress towards shared prosperity. This is an important year in the implementation of our international program to fight poverty, inequality, and unemployment. South Africa continues as the co-chair of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, which we assumed in 2015. Likewise, we are chairing the Southern African Development Community, SADC, and the Indian Ocean Rim Association, IORA, which positions that we assumed in August and October 2017, respectively. Furthermore, we are going to assume the chair of the BRICS formation later this year, when we will have an opportunity as a nation and as a country to host the BRICS summit, which will be coming later on South African soil. This provides South Africa with several opportunities to advance Nelson Mandela's vision of a world order that advances above all else the interests of the poor, the interests of the marginalized in our society, the interest indeed of the oppressed and the exploited people, not only of our own country, but also on our continent. We will work with our partners in all these bodies to develop the African continent and establish ties of mutual benefit between the countries of the South. This is our commitment as South Africa, and it's an irrevocable commitment. We encourage our people to participate in domestic and international endeavors through active citizenry. We would like to see more and more South Africans becoming interested in what happens in a number of countries on our continent, in what happens in the various regional blocs on our continent. We would like to see many of our people giving themselves an opportunity to learn also about this African continental free trade area agreement that we struck, so that as a people we get to interact with all these instruments so that we understand them fully. This in many ways will raise our level of consciousness as South Africans. It will also enable us to be in a much better position to appreciate our relations with various nations on our continent. Our people cannot be spectators in the development and management of their affairs. Our people need to be worldly. They need to be informed about what happens around the world, and more especially on their continent. Many of you will have noticed that as soon as we took office, we started going on a pilgrimage around Southern African countries. It was a pilgrimage of paying courtesy to our neighbors, not only to the leaders in the region, but also to the various people in our region. And I must say that South Africa was well received as we've been going from country to country, from Angola, Namibia, Botswana, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and we're going to continue to visit a number of other countries in our region. The reception has been phenomenal, and they have embraced us with warm arms. And in a way, it has been the rekindling of relationships, the deepening of relationships, because our relationships are both historic, cultural, political, commercial, and in many ways. And it was in Mozambique when, as I arrived with Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Minister Sisulu, when she met President Nyusi, they embraced and showed their joy at seeing each other. And President Nyusi turned to me and said, "President Ramaphosa, Minister Sisulu and I have a child together." And I said, "President, what do you mean?" And he said, "When we had the Mozambican floods some years ago, Minister Sisulu and I were the ones who made sure that that lady who gave birth to that child who was born on a tree did so in a very safe manner and was saved. And both of them were ministers of defense. That is why and that is why he said we have a child together. So that is their child. And together they have made sure that that child is well looked after. Her name is Rosette, and she's growing up. And together they continue to take great interest in her education. And so President Nyusi and our minister have a child together. We must also strive to strengthen public-private partnerships in pursuit of a decent life for all. And it is in this regard that, Minister Sisulu, I'm particularly pleased to see that many of the awards that were introduced by companies, and many of the people who also received awards here are representatives of a number of South African companies who are doing phenomenal work. And these companies are our ambassadors. They carry the South African flag wherever they operate, and let us give them a rousing round of applause. In the State of the Nation address last month, we detailed our plans to rebuilding our economy, to create jobs, and also tackle poverty. I call on our people to own these endeavors, to make these endeavors that we are seeking to achieve as a nation their own endeavors. In this era of renewal, we are guided by Vision 2030 of the National Development Plan, which enjoins us to transform our society for the benefit of all South Africans. It is therefore fitting that we applaud all nominees this evening who have taken it upon themselves to fly our flag high as South African ambassadors in various endeavors of excellence. And all of you who have received these awards, we applaud you, we honor you, be it in sport, be it in culture, be it in business, be it in community work that you've been doing, be it in everything that you have done. You have been representing our nation and our people extremely well. And we thank you and we honor you for all you've been doing. We do so because you are the standard bearers of an active citizenry that embraces the principle and the practice of Ubuntu. We must draw inspiration from Masisulu's selfless service to our people. It is incumbent upon us to pursue the vision and the ideals of Utatu Nelson Mandela. As we celebrate you in your individual achievements, so too do we recognize that your work is really part of a much broader effort to change the world for the betterment of humanity. Whatever little effort you might be involved in, we recognize that as your contribution in the end for helping to change and to make a better world for humanity. Working together, we can build a better today and an even better tomorrow for everyone. I wish to thank all of you who have received these awards and wish you strength and wish you the very best as you continue in all the efforts that you've been involved in. And even to my brothers in Black Mambazo, ladies with Black Mambazo, even wherever you are traveling right now, we wish you the very best. Please bring back more Grammy Awards. We need them. Thank you very much.